Tuvalu, and welcome to Star Trek, the original series, Season 1, Episode 16, or as the real fans know it, Episode 13, where today we have got something quite interesting today. But first off, of course, yes, I have to do this every time. But if you don't know what we are doing, and for some reason you haven't read the instructions on the screen, we are basically going to be recording a commentary track live. Obviously, I cannot just broadcast an episode of TOS, but we will have some things to help you keep in sync. So you will have to bring your own video, linked to Paramount Plus in the description if you still have a subscription. I will be rewatching the remastered edition, which probably doesn't matter. I don't think there's a lot of VFX in this one. But yes, it really doesn't matter. It's just a personal preference. But if I comment on an effect, it might look different if you're watching the original. In a little bit, we're going to do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. We're all going to hit play, go. We're all going to hit play on go. But to let everyone get set up, I do a little bit of rambling at the start. Oh my god. I was like, Nathan, put your mouse by the recording button so that you're going to hit the recording. You're going to hit recording before you unmute yourself. And then I forgot to do that. I need a drink. Not a good sign. Already thirsty. Galileo 7. The Galileo 7, rather. A while ago, I think it was during, like, a Strange New Worlds Season 1 review. God knows the episode. They probably Spock a muck, because I didn't talk about Spock a lot. I said something along the lines of, we all love Spock. And I mean, we do. We all love Spock. When we think of Spock, particularly Leonard Nimoy's Spock, we very much admire him. What he stands for, his ability to kind of go into look at situations, his ability to be the only reasonable person in the room. His ability to go to these places, these alien places that often are like dystopian in some manner. But look at these things he doesn't agree with and be like, fascinating. I understand how the society came to be, and just really actually take that kind of extra effort to understand and analyze the world and try and figure out how it works. However, you may have noticed the emphasis on the word think of Spock. Spock, and I believe, paraphrasing the quote I used in Strange New Worlds, is an effing idiot in the show. And the reason Spock is an absolute moron is that the writers, I feel they never really do logic right. My uncle actually wanted to sponsor a video just so I would write this script that I probably will eventually make, that writers suck at logic. And this is going to be the main talking point of the next 50 minutes, so I don't want to get too far into it. But yeah, I mean, I've referenced a lot. I don't really need to find it. There was this woman who did sort of a study when they were watching through TOS for fun once. So they wanted to see how good Spock was at logic, I think was basically the premise. And they looked at every single assertion that Spock made throughout the entire series. And they looked at two things. How confident was he? Very confident, kind of confident that something would happen. And then kind of confident it won't happen, and very confident it won't happen. And then, of course, they looked, was he right and was he wrong? And they found that not only was Spock usually wrong by a good margin, the more certain Spock was of one of his conclusions, whether something would happen or it wouldn't, the more likely it was to be wrong. And yeah, this episode I take particular... I think it's actually well regarded, but I particularly have problems with this episode because it has kind of the fundamental problem. I think a lot of the writers who do Vulcan badly kind of hear, okay, this character's a Vulcan, they don't have any emotions, they're very logical, is kind of the pitch you'd probably give when you're writing a character like Spock. And they take that and basically go, okay, he's not emotional, therefore logic literally doesn't consider the emotions at all. And we'll get into it. Don't worry. I'll actually properly defend myself as we get in. But I hope you will enjoy joining me on this trek of ripping Spock's logic to shred. But I also want to say before we go, talking about Vulcans in TOS is a little strange. They haven't really changed, especially not fundamentally, after TOS. But I'll probably reference a lot of things that take place or we learn after, because there's a lot of nuance and a lot of things are just kind of confirmed after TOS. Like even like way down in like Enterprise or heck Discovery. It's not the episode's fault if it doesn't want to do that, especially if I'm talking about something that like Ethan Peck's Spock does. But I still I like it when they stand up as a whole. You know, this world's supposed to exist with all those other shows, and so I think there's value in discussing it like that. And finally, I want to say there is something I realized just before starting this, that this is the first time I was seeing this episode since Strange New Worlds. What was it? Those Old Scientists, where they kind of took their first steps into turning the character of Spock they have into the one we see in TOS, where, brief spoilers, by the way, here, you can listen again when the time bar is back, I'll stop doing spoilers. We learn that Nurse Chapel, well, basically, Spock and Nurse Chapel learn that they're not together in the future, so now, and Spock, basically the way he takes the breakup is, you know, emotions have distracted me from my duty, I basically need to forsake them. And it's possible, I'm skeptical, but it's possible that could actually recontextualize a lot of what we're about to see and potentially fix some of it. I don't expect it to. I mean, we'll really get into it, but yeah, let's join our first little logical episode. Everyone's ready? I'll do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go countdown, and we're all gonna hit play on go. And hopefully I do it first time. Does the spacebar work? Oh my god, it does! I thought it didn't. That's why I've been using the mouse this whole time. Okay. Everyone ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And I've just realized you can't see that. I can't believe I've tried the spacebar. That must have been in the recent update. Okay, that's a remastered effect. That's a it's remastered, but that's a really good effect. I also like that it's just green, you know? It feels like something would have designed in the 60s. Wait, are all his little buttons on his chair always green? Next episode's Court Martial. We'll have to take a peek at that. I thought they were colored. Reasonable. So wait, is this away mission gonna take like 2 days? So let's see. Oh, actually, this would have been interesting to see in the original. I really hope there's a scene like that in the original, and everyone isn't out of sync now. With the shuttlecraft in the cargo bay. If you're watching on Paramount Plus, it is the remastered version. Well, there's my alarm for this live stream. Star Trek the Galileo 7. I did check that the first few episodes were the same on like Paramount Plus and here on my discs. I'm watching just a Blu-ray backup I have, but find and page. Uh-oh, 9 references to remastered. The episode received fairly heavy treatment due to a number of special effects in the original. Okay. Oh, here there's some... Actually, that's quite good in the original. I'm looking at some of the effects. Okay, good. The shuttle bay sequences were there. Okay, no, I think we're good. I think we're good. They don't have pictures of the original. Oh, well. Oh, hello, Jaxlaw. Up is a movie about an old man with some balloons. It's pretty good. Yep, there's 7. Hey, is that Mbanga in the back? This is our first Mbanga episode. Hey, we haven't seen you in a while. I wonder why, if he was, like, busy or something. I don't know. Hang on, boop. Just adjusting my volume. It does take like 2 days, doesn't it? You know, I mean, that's a good setup. I'm mostly sidetracked for there, but this is set up for the real meat of talking about how Spock's just a massive idiot. I love Spock. You know, but he's really done dirty by... Okay, that's loud. He's really done dirty by a lot of the, episode. Oh, come on. 99.101%. Come on. Okay. Give me 100% volume. This is the most important minigame. Look at this. Look at this. 99%, 101%. What? Fine. Fine. No, go back. Fine. If you want to be like that. I can't believe that. VOC Media Player. Come on. There we go. We gotta sing the intro at least a little bit. Okay, yeah, no, this is a lot of VFX. It's gonna be very different if you're watching the original version. I always like to think of the Admiral who reads these logs. Just like, how does he react to the the theatrics of Kirk's logs? Yeah, what's this guy doing? What, like that hole in the middle? Or is that a sci-fi thing? I don't actually know. That's the problem when you talk over these episodes, and that's why I don't do it for new episodes. Alright. Time to judge Spock's command. Yeah, that is Mbanga. And of course, Bones is here. He's gonna make me upset. I also maintain, this is besides the point, but that 6 of the people in these crew shuttles are just bad officers. Oh, Scotty! I didn't even notice you. Wait, is that Mbanga? I didn't hear what Bones said. In fact, give me a sec. I'm gonna turn... Oh, I don't have subtitles. Whoops. No. That's not a manga. A projectile. Yep. No complaints so far. Well, basically Earth, yeah. So far, they are doing good characterization with him. Where he's like, I just want the facts, you know? I mean, he's logical. Probably overly so. But that's fine, you know? Not over... He's focused. This is good. Okay, that was cool for the 60s. That door effect. Oof. Oh shoot, I forgot to mention, tomorrow we're gonna start our Doctor Who watch-alongs with Rose. We're gonna do the 9th Doctor through the 13th tomorrow at noon, which is the same time these are. So regardless of what your time zone is, it's now, tomorrow. My brother might be there, I don't know. I have to get to him. Ah, Columbus. The shuttle that I choose to believe is named after some random scientist from the future whose name happens to be Columbus. And his first name happens to not be Christopher. Yeah, right now. You'll just miss, like, the first 18 minutes of Rose, you know? There also won't be a live stream next Saturday because of taxes. That's gonna have to be pushed back. God, this guy is a bit of a dick. Like, I get why he's frustrated, but come on, give him, like, at least a day and a half of those 2 days. Like, there's no benefit to getting there early. I guess it means nothing's gonna happen in the middle, but whatever. Has he led missions before in Strange New Worlds? Well, see, this is why we love Spock. Despite his immense logical failings in TOS. So far, I'm on board. You know, I'm actually would complain most about McCoy and of everyone else in the shuttle for like just totally discounting logic because they don't understand what it is. But I'm gonna assume I'm not gonna critique them too much because Spock can't control how they feel. And the real question is, how should Spock react with the crew that he has, right? Literally last episode, we critiqued a eugenicist for doing this. So far, I'm still on board. Like, Spock stumbled here because he's absolutely right, but especially the way he delivered it. Like, it, it's kind of putting the crew against him or doubting them and making them afraid from the offset. The setup for this episode has been real good so far, and I understand that Spock, especially discounting Strange New Worlds, which I think you honestly really should when talking about Spock, makes sense for the character. This is the Spock who didn't understand annoyance in the first episode. I think that's how you do, especially a Vulcan as logical as Spock, that's how you do, that's how you'd handle them, is they just don't understand the effect that the manner in which they're saying what they're saying, how that affects the crew. And that's a good way to introduce tension. I can understand Spock not realizing in that specific scenario that would have this effect on the crew. But as we go on, it's going to become a lot more obvious that what he's doing isn't really working with the crew. We'll get there, but still, I'm actually surprised how long we're going. Oh, come on, we live on the spaceship. No one's dying to a spear wound. But yeah, I'm surprised how far we're getting into this episode before I really have a complaint, Wonder what it would be like living on this planet, like next to a quasar-like thing. Did he not answer your question? I'm gonna remember that line and how sort of cold and logical it was. God, I hate this crew. He's figuring out what they're up against, what the technological development of the civilization is, which would help keep all of you alive. Which is what bloody any captain would do. I mean, it's like, I'm not saying they don't have no reason to, it's just the crew very, very quickly basically decides they hate Spock, And like they almost actively go against the mission because they hate Spock, and I don't think they've done enough to justify that. But as I said, you know, Spock can't do anything about that. Spock's got to deal with the situation he's been dealt. I am struck, though, how much this feels like a Data episode on this watch through. Like, give it a random crew, not from the Enterprise D. This is what they do to Data, like, hands down. God, well, you don't have to be a dick about it, though. Like, come on, man. Everyone in this episode's just a bit of a dick. Except Spock. And Kirk, to be fair. Yeah, but, like, Doctor, what would you do? Like... it's like every other episode, I feel like any officer would be like, yes, I'm prepared to sacrifice myself. But, oh, and then this... It's just... I'd understand the emotional reaction of maybe like, well, we're hopeless. I really struggle to understand it, but the main problem is I don't think any trained Starfleet officer should be reacting like this. Especially in this era where like 3 people die every mission. Like, can you think of any other away team that would be like, no, we've got to just stop doing this to give a funeral? Also, surely he's 100. Well, I guess Spock was probably including the corpse they're leaving behind in his calculations. Just got an invite for Team Fortress 2. Wish I could stay for it. Ball catch with you on the next one. Yep. Don't forget, no stream next week because I gotta do taxes. There will be Doctor Who next week, but not Star Trek. Watch Jasmine Hotel was great. You're welcome. Yeah. Did you watch the pilot on YouTube? That's got a good song. Assumption, but technically logical. Oh, now you're practical. No, I've changed my mind. You know what? Spock's doing this great. He's just got such an irrational crew that he doesn't have to put up with their shit. You know, this is a commander who deserves to go, screw you, I'm in charge. Was that a flubbed line? I didn't know they did that in Star Trek. Like, they're building up to the conclusion that you need... Basically, you need to be emotional command, which is wrong. Yeah, you need to consider the emotional status of your crew. I mean, that's the real conclusion that they should be getting to, and where Spock fumbles when I don't think he should. But they're really doing a bad job of setting up this crew as someone to be, like, catered to, because they're just wrong. And not in a sense that I disagree with them. I do, strongly. But they don't seem believable as... Forget about Starfleet officers. We're 13 episodes in. We don't even know what a Starfleet officer is. But, like... They're... I mean... This isn't how, like, a military should be trained, which is what Starfleet really is at this point. This isn't utopian, like how Gene Roddenberry would probably want to portray the people. It's got a lot of the, like, us and them mentality of, like, well, they're the foreigners, they're the weird aliens, they look like ape people, we don't have... I mean, we're ape people, but we don't have to care about them. And it's... yeah. Who wrote this one? That's a question. Also, let's not forget that shooting the phasers in the air did scare them off before. It's entirely possible it'll happen again. Who wrote this one? Oliver Crawford. Let that be your last battlefields. The Cloud Miners. Alright, the Cloud Miners. The Cloud Miners is what if COVID-19 was an episode of Star Trek. We'll get there. Genuinely, my partner and I watched that for them. It was the first time during the pandemic, and it was just a constant, uncomfortable, oh. Oh, this, oh, yeah. Well, I mean, he's... yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's written a dud other than this. That's the point. And even this is flawed, but not like a dud. How are you gonna logic this one, Spock? I don't know why you're hesitating, Doctor. I mean, they're all in agreement for once, I think. I mean, I'd ask if maybe you could do, like, one at a time, but, you know, they're only doing 2 right now. Let's not talk about Vulcan transport, though. We'll get half of Spock. We'll get the human part of Spock. It'll be like that TOS episode that doesn't make any sense. Sorry, that Strange New Worlds where they make Spock human, and for some reason that means he forgets how to be logical, and he's more emotional, even though Vulcans have far more powerful emotions than humans, and the Vulcan techniques to suppress emotion can be learned. Hey, look at Michael Burnham, not to mention a bunch of classic people, and so that's a bad episode. That's another example of a writer not understanding Vulcans, But hey, it's Strange New Worlds, the show that, doesn't really understand Vulcans at all. Oh my god, that's original Jabba the Hutt. He's gonna get him. I know, I'd be terrified. Star Wars is coming a decade early, man. Run. You better run. I am gonna be honest, I remember them being the Mugatu, or whatever they're called. Not original Jabba the Hutt. Yeah, this is where Spock arguably could at least try to be better. Because even if we discount Strange New Worlds, in which case, God, he should be a lot better than this. He knows at this point that the crew's being rather combatant. Yeah, that's because you're an idiot, Bones, and you don't understand him. But I'll let him finish. Like, he believes that emotion will get in the way of the success of this mission. That if the crew starts adding emotion, the mission is less likely to succeed. We'll work under that premise. He also should recognize that in particular these two crew members are responding very badly to him because they think he's emotionless. And I'm going to assume that he also recognizes that crew members who don't have faith in their commander are also a liability to the success of the mission. Maybe that's what he's doing right now, is trying to appease their emotion. But I would expect that he should recognize this and at least, like, there's a point where the decrease in the likelihood of success by Spock at least trying to be emotional is less than the increase of the crew having more faith in him. Oh my god, that almost hit him in the face! Good lord, that... Leonard Nimoy almost got killed! Wow, anyway. And I think Spock should recognize that and go, if I'm dealing... Even if we're working under Spock's, admittedly somewhat flawed model, like, he should at least try and connect with the crew a little emotionally, because that's going to give him the success now, and he's not going to convince them to just abandon emotion in the 24 hours that they have to do this. I don't think it'd work, but, granted, I think Spock should recognize going, here, Doctor, take this back to the ship, isn't the best response in this, in that exact moment. Or at least not in that way. No, Spock, you made an assumption. No, Bones! They could have reacted either way! They could have been Vulcans! But yes, no, I also agree here that Spock, especially being a Vulcan in a human world, should recognize, heck, in this galaxy, should recognize that most creatures aren't as logical as Vulcans. It's also possible that he could have the conclusion. I'm not gonna claim it's true because I don't have the numbers. That the like the people at the level of technological development they have, that is the, oh god, there's another line. The inhabitants have would be more likely to act emotionally or make irrational decisions. Like, these people are gods, they have magic, they're wizards, you know. But yeah, that line I hate. That's like, I don't understand. I've made the optimal decision at every moment, and 2 members have died. Yeah, no, Spock. It's I have this problem with Worf as well, where Picard has that great line, or is it Data, where he's like, "No, that's life." Like, Spock, you write the Kobayashi Maru. Sometimes there are no good decisions, but you still have to choose. Like, Spock's working in that statement. He's working under the assumption that there was always an optimal path, that the optimal path always leads to a complete 100% total victory with absolutely no downsides whatsoever, which he should just flat out know is wrong. That there would be some scenarios where it's genuinely, hey, these 2 people are poisoned, we only have 1 antidote, and also we're in the middle of nowhere. Literally, we're in between the Milky Way and Andromeda, and we have no way of manufacturing a new antidote. You just, like, the start, where at the start of this episode, he was like, well, it's very likely we'll have to leave 3 people behind. That's the optimal decision. And yet 3 people are dead. Like, I feel it even contradicts itself. And it's taking that idea of logic that's just, that's not how things work. That's not how logic works. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a logical fallacy about just that assumption that being totally logical will lead to 100% correct output. I don't know. There's something about how analog and tactile that is. I just love that. Oh, duh. If they had established that the 2 dead guys and this guy are um, are super close, like, make them brothers. I don't know, make them brothers, and it it'd work a lot better, because I can imply that there's an incredibly strong bond there, but and here Spock is kind of recognizing that, like, yeah, no, I need him. And probably, honestly, also, I mean, if he gets himself killed, like, that's like, by his own wanting to do something incredibly stupid, well, there we go, problem solved. Like, but in that the weight problem, you know, but it's just, the crew seems like far more rational than someone in their position should be. So far, they've lost 3 people to save 7. The creatures are all over this place, and this one... I guess if they've landed in a bunch of different places, yeah, alright, fair enough. Yeah. Now he's right. Yeah, and Kirk, you know you set it up like this. Like, Kirk, there is a plague. Get his hesitance, but he knows what he's doing. He knew. Oh yeah, you knew what you were doing. You said, Columbus, I want you to get as far away from the Enterprise as possible, and then whack your engines with a hammer, so that your ship goes slower. I bet at least 4 people are gonna die, because the delay, you know? That'll get us up to 7 deaths to save 7 people. You really don't need those chairs. I've said this a lot in my head every time I watch this episode. But you really don't need those chairs. That's gotta weigh at least, like, 2 people. Pessimistically. Those chairs. Like, honestly, would you rather not be in a chair or, you know, leave a man behind? Also, some people died. Wait. Okay, fair enough. They did remove the chairs of the dead people. I don't think I've noticed that before, actually. And I understand the chairs are a safety thing, but, like... I don't know. It doesn't look like they really need them. Like, in a normal rocket launch, oh yeah, you'd probably absolutely want them. But, these are pretty smooth, you know? Just lie on the floor. I don't know. Space normal. Good Lord, Kirk. First off, what is normal speed in space? Is that like a planet or a whatever? The word you're looking for is sublight, but... Oh. Is Jabba the Hutt on the ship? If you've never seen original Jabba the Hutt, give him a Google. He looks like that. See, she doesn't need a chair. Wait. Oh no, look at that. 2 empty chairs in the back. No, they kept those. So, in the remaster, the face in the shuttle was a 2D sprite that turned to face the camera. Amazing. I mean, Spock's, like, What do you think Bones would have done if he was on the rock? He probably would have said the same thing. He would have gone, hey, we need to leave a body behind anyway, and he would have yelled at them for rescuing it. Like every Starfleet officer. Oh god, I remember the conclusion. Good lord. Welcome to the greatest failure in understanding logic. He had to have been in command in, Yeah, no, he did, didn't he? Because Pike was gone for, like, the first episode, yeah. Well, that's Strange New Worlds for you, isn't it? Contradict TOS, the original series, and then say time travel made it so it never happened, you know. Maybe if you turn the anti-gravity off. Well, it could be it is unpowered, isn't it, actually? Never mind. And look at that, the logical decision. The most logical decision he could have made. Also, VFX people, why'd you make it green? Make it red. It's more obvious, more likely to be noticed. We'll get to his justification, but everyone hates that for being emotional, and even Spock's like, oh, yes, it was emotional. Because the writers don't understand logic, and they don't understand that, well, a risk, it was still a risk that was reached by logical means, and it was an incredibly logical decision. Good lord, those things are fast. That is definitely in orbit. It also clearly came from the surface. Oh, I guess it is red over at the top. How logical. That's a good point. A flare. It's almost like the concept is sound. So sound and logical that there's an industry that produces flares. Sure, firing a flare doesn't cause your boat to start sinking, but... No, Bones. No, Spock, why? There was, like, okay, he had a choice between almost certainly dying because the Enterprise was leaving. He believed the Enterprise was leaving and wouldn't notice them. Might I remind you, visually make contact with the shuttle in orbit. And so he launched a massive flare that covered the, like, diameter of half the planet, the circumference, rather, of half the planet, which probably wouldn't work. But you know what probably is better than? Almost certainly not. He increased the chances of their survival. That is a logical decision that, yes, could be reached emotionally, but just because it's a gamble doesn't mean it's illogical. You know what's also a gamble? Being a casino. Being a casino, with every hand, you're 51% likely to win. You're like 50.01% chance likely of winning. It is possible you will lose all your money, especially at the start. But you almost certainly won't. Like, it's illogical. It's logical to be a casino. Are you going to die unless you may make $1 million and someone is offering you to flip a coin? And if you win, you get $1 million. If you lose, you get slapped in the face. Flipping the coin is not illogical. It's the logical choice. God. Let's just stop it here before I get angry. Oh, good. Let's just mute. In fact, yeah, let's just do that to the episode. No. Yes, it was. A state of mind? Yes. Now, the action doesn't have a state of mind. Yes. Yes! Yes! You idiots! No! The act was desperate. The state of mind was not. I mean, that's a fair response. But... Oh, and look at that. Humans are the only species in the entire galaxy that can have emotion and be desperate. Look at that. Now we're all racist. I hope you're happy, Galileo 7. God. I hate you. I hate all of you. Where's Picard? We're gonna start TNG now. Is this the one that has a freeze frame? Oliver Crawford. There we go. Screw you. I don't care if you wrote that one about racism. That honestly isn't that impactful nowadays. It kind of feels like we've moved beyond an episode that's that simplistic. I don't know. It's not a bad episode. Let that be your last battlefield. It just feels like as a society we've moved to something that needs a little bit more, in my opinion, than just these guys were so racist they brought themselves to oblivion in the end. Like maybe some commentary on how to deal with racism. Whatever. That other one isn't exactly happy, but honestly, I can't fault you for your accuracy. It's the Cloud Miners, right? When is it? Hang on. The Cloud Miners is genuinely. It's an episode where no, I'm gonna find the Cloud Miners. The Cloud. Is it season 3? The Cloud Miners. The Cloud Miners. I mean, I'm seeing the Paradise Intro, and I'm gonna react to that. There we go. It's like the end of season 3, right? It's an episode where there's a city in the there's Bespin. It's Bespin, right? It's a city in the clouds, and it's like a artful utopia, yada yada. It's in the Federation for some godforsaken reason, but it's supported by like a working class on the ground that's like mining in caves. And they're kind of idiots because, and they don't know this, but there's a gas in the caves that basically decreases like the mental capacity of the people who are exposed to it. If you take them out of the gas, they're fine. It's purely temporary. But that's the situation. And the Cloud Miners, the government, it has such lines where the government refuses to even believe that the gas exists because you can't see it. And if you can't see it, how can you be real? All the while, where Kirk is standing there and literally saying, for God's sake, just wear the mask and the entire problem of your society will be solved. It's an episode where Kirk tries to convince the government to, like, make the people wear masks, and the government doesn't believe him because they can't see the issue, so you know what? That means it's not there, and it'd be bad to admit it was. And the people refuse to wear the masks because they also refuse to accept that the problem even exists, and they forcefully remove the masks of Kirk and the rest of the crew. And it's you know what? It wasn't a great episode to watch in the middle of 2020. If you watch it won't be as like, oh, nowadays, but I think anyone to watch that episode would just be, oh, I remember when this happened in the news this week. Like, it's not even about that. Like, in no way is it about anything that kind of be COVID. It just happens to the fact that it's literally like Kirk versus the anti-maskers and the government who refuses to do anything about the problem. It's down to the little things. God, it's baffling. But tell you what, it's got the line where Spock goes, like a woman goes up to Spock and she's like, Mr. Spock, why I've never met a computer. And he responds with, no, and I've never met a work of art. And then Kirk just looks at him like, damn. That's a good scene, but God, that one's genuine. If you've never watched The Cloud Miners, maybe gives it a peek. It was one of the ones where we just kind of left, and my wife and I didn't. Well, at the time, my partner and I didn't really say anything. We were just like, oh, like we all knew the whole episode. We were kind of silent, just like, ooh, this is. And then we're like, right, next episode. That's it, which was The Way to Eden. God, look at that. I reject the premise that season 3 is just bad. I mean, it's got Spock's brain, for God's sake. That's a masterpiece. I realize I said that in such a sarcastic way. No, I genuinely mean it. It's also, though, I mean, yeah, it's got duds, but it's also got a lot of good ones. Isn't it? It's got the Tholian one, the Enterprise incident, Spock's brain, which, as I said, is great. Last Battlefield, which, I mean, I know I just kind of critique it. Yeah, it was great at the time. I just think the society needs a little bit more now. I don't really have any complaints, but, you know. I feel if it came out nowadays, it'd probably be like a lot of what Chibnall's Doctor Who was critiqued as just being kind of like Chibnall's Doctor Who has an episode about racism. It's Rosa. And the response is like, I mean, you're right. Racism is bad, but, like, that's all you kind of say about it. Wink of an Eye. That one's kind of interesting. Plato's Stepchildren. That's one a lot of people don't like, is it? But I think it's got, a lot in it. The Cloud Miners that I just mentioned. The Savage Curtain. Come on. I literally waited 3 seasons for my wife to meet Abraham Lincoln in space. That image. And the Turnabout Intruder, not as bad as people think. That'll be one interesting to do live. I really hope I have someone who, like, kind of disagrees with me there. The Turnabout Intruder is interesting because a lot of, like, it seems to have such slack mainly for claiming that a woman can't be a Starfleet officer. Which I genuinely, I'd seen the episode like 6 or 7 times trying to find this until I eventually went to like Reddit to be, okay, why do people think that the Turnabout Intruder says a woman can't be a captain? Because I'm perfectly willing to accept that I'm just somehow missing something, but I've seen this episode so many times and I just don't see it. And then I don't remember what the line is, but someone pointed out to me, and it basically, most of the response I read was like, yeah, no. People just take the fact that this particular woman can't be a Starfleet officer and comments that are made about that and extrapolate it into, like, no woman can be. Yes, there is a line somewhere else where no woman has been a Starfleet officer. That one's horrible. Thank you, Enterprise, for fixing that. But I was like, oh, yeah, no, I don't know. I'm perfectly willing to have someone lay out the reasons, like, this is why I think it's sexist, and, like, I've just never heard of it, and I'm like, oh, you're right, I just didn't notice that, or I haven't seen it. But it seems to be an episode where, to me, it has a reputation because the woman in the episode is so blatantly, clearly would make a bad captain. Like, I don't even know where I'd begin to explain why, because it's so obvious, and in, like, every way they're a bad captain. And somehow that translates to a lot of people in a belief that they're stopping her from being a captain simply because she's a woman. And I don't know. I mean, I'm perfectly happy if someone would be like, no, here's, like, the reasons I think that this episode is sexist. And I'm like, oh, you're right, I haven't seen any of those. Like, I'm perfectly willing. No one's done that so far yet, where I'm like, what are the reasons, though? Because usually what I see is, like, they say a woman can't be a captain, or what the hell do you mean? It's so obviously sexist, I can't even begin to describe it. And neither of those arguments are convincing, you know? I mean, it's equally as unconvincing as me saying, what do you mean it's sexist? I can't even begin to describe how bad this woman would be as a captain. But yeah, that's like, you know, April next year. How far is Discovery and Prodigy going to push us back? And I don't know how much Star Trek will get regularly. Because Discovery's leaving. Prodigy's probably leaving. I don't know, we might get a season 3. But we'll see. If it does great for Netflix, I guess we'll get one. But yeah, Discovery's gone. I'm not going to count Prodigy. We'll have Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds, and that's like it. They're not going to make Legacy, thank God. I'm not making friends this episode. They're not going to make Legacy. And then we just got 3 or 4 movies? No, the Picard movie. Yeah, they're not making it, though. They're just talking about it. Yeah, Section 31's... they're filming that. It's gonna happen. And you know what? It's gonna be a day. It's only gonna be a day, but it's gonna be a day. We're just gonna have to get through it. And the 2 Kelvin things. I mean, personally, I am hyped as hell for the prequel Kelvin movie that surely by its very existence will hopefully prove that the Kelvin timeline existed on its own, totally independent from the Prime timeline. Beyond that, I don't care. To me, the Kelvin timeline is its own thing, so it can do whatever the hell it wants. I guess it's got some nice Spock moments with Prime Spock, but... yeah, I'll cover any of that, even if it's in, like, theaters. I'd go on probably, like, opening night or something and cover it a little after. It'd be harder, because I couldn't go and reference the movie or, like, rewatch it afterwards. But yeah, I would have done it. But anyway, there's some other stuff I want to do today. I gotta wrap this up. Tomorrow, we'll start Doctor Who. I'm very excited for that. I'm really hoping to get my brother. He has seen all of Modern Who up to and including Asylum of the God, stop being American. No, Nathan. Asylum. Okay, the Dalek Invasion of Earth. Asylum of the Daleks. I don't know. I couldn't say. Is it because it's Asylum? So I want to say the like Asylum. Yeah, that's probably why. But yeah, I love that though, because apparently Asylum of the Daleks was so bad that he just gave up because he doesn't remember any episodes after that. He remembers that one though, and like the several before. I just find that hilarious. And he doesn't remember why he stopped. He just stopped. I'm like, yeah, I bet Asylum of the Daleks was just that bad. But anyway, yeah, we'll be doing all of Modern Who. That's the plan. Once we get into 13, I might at some point not do all of 13, but the plan is to do all of it. And then we'll definitely get through 12, don't mind you. Except maybe Sleep No More, but Sleep No More, such an ironically named episode. But then we'll go through and somehow do classics. Again, the plan is somehow to do all of it. I might get pick and choosy, especially with Hartnell, but we'll have to experiment. I'll probably try the Toy Maker animation if I can get a thumbnail for that. But Alex has to make a lot of thumbnails now, so... I don't know. We'll see. But that has us content for a few years. And of course, Star Trek is like, what, 5 years at the rate we're going? I think Doctor Who is actually also about 5 years. It depends, because the classics are weird, because they're all like 4+ parts. I don't know. We'll figure something out. And actually pretty soon, wait, am I going to have a double... No, a double list of... Star Trek... I was going to say, I don't know how I'm going to do 2-parters, because the Star Trek has the Menagerie coming up soon in 2 episodes, and Doctor Who has the Slovene 2-parter. But I'm taking a Star Trek week off. I think the 2-parters might fall on the same weekend for Doctor Who and Star Trek, because it's like the third. Oh no, it's episode 4 and 5. Okay, good. And yeah, so in 3 weeks we'll have the Star Trek two-parter. In 4 weeks we'll have Doctor Who's. I thought I was just gonna have a massive weekend. But no, I think it'll be fun, especially if I can get my brother, because he's been wanting to rewatch. He's been wanting. I think he's gonna adore the 15th Doctor. He's gonna love him. I've tried to send him a few clips, like the one of him dancing in the club, which I thought for sure would sell him. And like he's like, I'm sold. He just doesn't have the time. And then when I brought up these live streams, I'm like, I think that's how I'm gonna get him hooked. He's like, yeah, that'd be fun. And I think these live streams would be great with someone to bounce off of. And I think it's a fun perspective of I've seen all the classics. I know every line. Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink. No, wait, that's something else. But I know. God, I wanted to do that joke so hard I lost the train of thought. Yeah, and he's kind of rediscovering. Like, I've seen the stuff after him. You know, I've seen 12 and 13 and heck, the end of 11. And I just think there's an interesting... I think that's an interesting difference of perspective. And of course, I think he'd have a good sense of humor in the things he'd react to. Like, I really want him for Rose, because Rose is a pretty dumb episode. It's got a lot of, like, dumbness, like, campy dumbness, and that would be fun. So, yeah, I hope you'll join me tomorrow for Doctor Who. But, yeah, that's it for today.